Sorry to hear that.
I just drove through the night.
Boy, you have a simcha or what?
It's my mother-in-law's yard site, so
Oh,
we're having a yard site to the
uh-huh,
Sunday night.
uh-huh.
So we'll have it. We'll have. I'll be able to spend Shabbos with the kids. Okay, let's see if I can find my my daf. Oh, this daf is here, I think. Okay, Gewaltig. I think we are all set. Can you see the daf?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to get started even before the oilam comes because I'm like in the middle of the road. I got to get home already. I got to get to my destination. So yesterday we were probing for Rav Yehuda because Rav said that the Mishnah that says if you shecht on Shabbos, the shechita is kosher. Zogt Rav, on that Shabbos itself, you wouldn't be able to eat it. You'd have to wait till Motzei Shabbos B'chteshi Yasu, and the
Can you
Chavraya,
hear us?
I can hear you, but you have to raise your volume. If you raise the volume, you'll be able to hear me. Are you good?
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Now we're hearing you.
Oh, you just have to raise the volume on the television. Okay, great. So we were just saying that Rav said in the Mishnah that although the shechita is kosher, if it's checked on Shabbos, it's not allowed to be eaten that Shabbos. You have to wait till Motzei Shabbos B'dei Shiyasu. And the Chavraya in the yeshiva said that Rav was referring to Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rabbi Yehuda Shita that you wouldn't be able to eat it on Shabbos. And the Gemara was probing to find the Shita of Rabbi Yehuda that it would be. So the Gemara probed with Noila that it didn't work, and the Gemara probed with Muchin, with Kalim it didn't work, and the Gemara probed with if the behemoth is oimid lachila or not. None of the eights has worked. So we're still looking for a Rabbi Yehuda that would explain why you can't eat it the day of Shabbos, which takes us to a very yisaidistic, a very well-known machlokes. We're on the third line of Daf Tes Vav Amar Aleph, and we're up to the or Ella Amar Rabashi. Rabbi Yehuda, who is this Rabbi Yehuda? This that we're looking for? It's the Rabbi Yehuda of Mevashel. The Tanan we learned Hamavashel b'Shabbos b'Shoigig. If someone cooks on Shabbos, it's a malacha deraisa, but it was done b'Shoigig. The lacha is yoichal. Rashi says yoichal means boy b'yoim. There's no avera done. Since it's shoigig, it's not considered an avera. It's not the proceeds of an avera, and therefore, I, the person who do the cooking, and say anybody else can eat it even on that Shabbos. But the mazid, where the person who did the cooking was over an avera, and we don't want to count him, lo yoichal, he's not allowed to eat it. Divei Reb Meir. Now, it's not a knas. B'mezid lo yoichal is because we don't want people to have enough of Isser. If you look at Rashi, lo yoichal, boy biyoim. Just on Shabbos you can't eat it. Until the time after Shabbos that you would have been able to make it after Shabbos. According to Reb Meir, no one's allowed to eat the proceeds of a bishul b'mezid on Shabbos. No one's allowed to have it. No one's allowed to eat it on Shabbos. The time of Mishum, the reason for this is the loy hana meisurahu. You shouldn't have hana from an iser. And therefore, if you wait to eat this until the time that it will have taken to cook it, Matzah Shabbos, they're not having enough from the violation of Shabbos. So therefore, Dr. Meir, there's no issue at all. You can eat it even on Shabbos. Amazing, you can't eat it on Shabbos. Not you, not anybody else. But Matzah Shabbos, anyone can eat. That's the sheet of our Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Eimer. Now, really, we could suggest who said our Mishnah is like Rabbi Yehuda. Maybe he's going according to Rabbi Meir, and it was done b'shoigig, b'mezid. Rabbi Meir just said that if it's done b'mezid, then no one's allowed to eat it on Shabbos. So the Gemara is going to ask, maybe it's Rabbi Meir who's the sheet that you can't eat it that day. But Rabbi Yehuda Eimer, b'shoigig yoichel b'matzoi Shabbos. If you were over it b'shoigig, then you could only eat it Matzah Shabbos. And the same thing goes for others. Say the person who's over the Aver, and say others cannot eat it until Matzah Shabbos. And b'mezid, Dr. Rabbi Yehuda, lo yoichal elamis, he's never allowed to eat it because we're canceling him because he did an Aver. But everybody else, they could eat it, Matzah Shabbos, because they didn't do an Avera, they don't deserve a Knas. And then comes the third shita of Rabbi Yochanan Asandler. He's very machmer, and he says, B'shoigig yoichel b'l'motzoi Shabbos lacher v'loy loy. The person who cooked on Shabbos could never have a no from what he cooked. But if he cooked it b'shoigig, then on Shabbos it was a Ma'is Avera. So we don't want even a third party to have enough in the Ma'is Avera. So they could only have they could only eat his food Motzoi Shabbos b'chdei sheyasu. And b'mezid lo yochel elamis loy loy v'loy lacher. This is usher forever. Now Rashi explains, Memela you'll cancel the person who violated Shabbos, so it should be usher forever. But what did other people do that they should also be prohibited from eating this? Zok Rashi, according to the Rabbi Yochanan Sandler, there's actually a special pasuk. It's learned out of a pasuk that Ma'aseh Shabbos lo yochal olamis. And if I can draw your attention to Rashi, it's the first wide line of Rashi under the Gemara. We learn it. It says the Shemartim as a Shabbos ki kodesh, ma kodesh asur b'achila, of Ma'aseh Shabbos asurim b'achila, and therefore it's also even lacherim la'olam if it was cooked b'mezid. So now that we have these three shittas, let's see how we can apply it to our Mishnah. Hanadidan. I'm sorry. I scrolled down too much. So that's why I to interrupt him. Gezok to Gemara weiter. V'nukma b'mezid v'Rab Meir. Why can't our Mishnah speaking where the person shechted b'mezid, and according to Rab Meir, it's also for him to eat that day? Zok to Gemara loy sol kedaita. It's not mistaber to say that it was done b'mezid. Why? The katani dumya d'yom Kippurim. The Mishnah has two cases: shachat b'Shabbos and shachat b'yom Kippurim. Therefore, they should be similar. Ma Yom Kippurim lo yishna b'shoigig v'lo yishna b'mezid lo yachol. Just like on Yom Kippur, it doesn't matter if it was cooked b'shoigig or if it was cooked b'mezid. You're not allowed to eat it. Avhacha, so too, when the Mishnah is addressing hashoichet b'Shabbos, lo yishna b'shoigig lo yishna b'mezid lo yachol. We're not going to be mechalek between shoigig and mezid. According to Reb Meir, it's only usher to eat b'mezid, not b'shoigig. Therefore, it doesn't make sense that Reb Meir is a town of our Mishnah, because according to Reb Meir, there'd be a chilek between shoigig and mezid. Okay, gewaltig. Fragt the Gemara, umi matzis mukmi lo b'shoigig v'Rab Yehuda. You want to say that the case of the Mishnah was when the shechita was done b'shoigig. According to Rabbi Yehuda, even if it was done b'shoigig, it's also for that day. The problem is, our Mishnah says b'ferish that it was b'mezid, because via af alpi shemischayiv b'nafshoy katani. It says in the Mishnah shemischayiv b'nafshoy. A shoygig is not mischayiv b'nafshoy. And for the Gemara, Hachikamar, this is what the Mishnah means when he uses the word mischayiv b'nafshoy. Afal pi de b'mezit mischayiv b'nafshoy. Even though had he done the aver b'mezit, he would be mischayiv b'nafshoy. Hacha the b'shoygig shchit asay kshera. Here, where he did it b'shoygig, his shchit is kosher, but it will still be aser for that day. Now, you might think it's a little weird. Why would you fartaich mischayiv b'nafshoy means had you done it b'mezit, it would have been mischayiv b'nafshoy. But the truth of the matter is, even if you do something b'shoygig, it still has the properties of the same aver of chilul Shabbos. And I'll give you an example. We know there's a halacha of kom lei v'derabah minei. If you're mechuyev moment at the same time where you did an action that's mechayiv you misa, you're potter from the moment. What about if you did an aver that would be mechayiv you misa like chilul Shabbos, but you did it b'shoygig, so there is no actual chiv misa? Do you say kom lei v'derabah minei? In that case, we all know that you do. It's called chayvei misa shoygig. So you see, even shoygig is you could say the lashon harezim is chayv b'nafshoy even on the shoygig, because it even works for kom lei v'derabah minei. Okay, so now we've ruled out Rav Meir and Rabbi Yehuda makes sense. Break the Gemara, but what about Rabbi Yochanan Asandler? Like Rabbi Yochanan Asandler. Why didn't we say that the Mishnah is going like Rabbi Yochanan Asandler? Because he also says that b'shoygig it's aser that day. Zok to Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan Asandler Eimer. One second, I'm getting mixed up. When Rabbi Yochanan Asandler, the Amar lo yishna b'shoygig, lo yishna b'mezid, who doesn't make a distinction between shoygig and mezid, it'll still be aser. Zok to Gemara, achel, lo achel, you can't eat it. Zok to Gemara, there's a problem with Rabbi Yochanan Asandler. Because Rabbi Yochanan Asandler kamaflig b'motzoi Shabbos la'acherim v'loy loy. Rabbi Yochanan Asandler said that if someone cooks b'shoygig, he's never ever allowed to eat it, even Motzei Shabbos. It's only a cherim that can eat it Motzei Shabbos. But our Mishnah doesn't seem to make a distinction between the violator and other people. Because Tana Didan, Shchitasoi Kshera Katani, Loy Shna Loy V'Loy Shna Lacherim, anybody would be able to eat it. So therefore, based on that, our Mishnah is most logical to say that it's referring to a case of Mezid, and it's going according to Rabbi Yehuda. I'm sorry, our Mishnah is talking about a case of Shoygig, and it still passes the lotion of a Areza Mischayiv b'nafshoy, and it's going according to Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that even if someone cooked b'shoygig on Shabbos, it's also for anybody to eat it on Shabbos. Beautiful. Dr. Helig Gemara, a very interesting story. Tani Tana Kamei Derav. Someone quoted the following brisa in front of Rav. Hamavashel b'Shabbos b'shoygig. If one cooks on Shabbos b'shoygig, yoichel, it can be eaten. B'mezid lo yoichel. So this sounds very much like it lines up with what Reb Meir said. Rabbi Shoygig, you don't eat it even on Shabbos. B'mezid, you shouldn't eat it. And when Rav heard this person quote this Tana, umashdik le Rav. Rav said, Shasha, don't say that. Rav shushed him up. He didn't want anyone hearing what this person said. Frank the Gemara, my time of mashdik. Why would Rav have silenced him? Ilema mishum de svir like Rabbi Yehuda. If it's because Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda that even Mishoygig will be usher on Shabbos. V'tana tani Reb Meir, and this person who quoted Reb Meir, who said it would be mutter on Shabbos. Frek the Gemara, mishum de svir leik Rabbi Yehuda, man de tani Reb Meir mashtek loy. What you think Rav was a liberal who silences any opinion that's different than his? Avada not. Just because the Tana was quoting Reb Meir and Rav passes like Reb Yehuda, that's not a reason to silence somebody. So that can't be pshat. Zok to Gemara, va'oid, mi saver like Rabbi Yehuda? Does Rav actually paskin like Rabbi Yehuda? I believe Rav paskins like Reb Meir, as we will illustrate in this story. The Amar Rab Chanan bar Ami, when Rav would paskin one-on-one, privately, personal, Psak halacha, Mer Luke Rab Meir, he was maker like Rab Meir, and he said that if something was cooked b'shoigeg, it's mutter, but he didn't want to be mefarsim it, so people shouldn't lose their respect for Shabbos. V'chidorish bepirka, but when he spoke in public, Dorish Rabbi Yehuda. He always said l'chum like Rabbi Yehuda that b'shoigig you wouldn't be able to eat it on Shabbos. Why did he do this? Mishum Amei Aretz. He didn't want the Amei Aretz to take Shabbos lightly. Frag the Gemara, v'chitema tana b'pirkei tana kamei. And if you're going to tell me the reason why Rav shushed him, silenced him, is because when did someone tell over this brisa to Rav? It was the middle of a Shabbos Agadol drasha. He said it in a public setting, and that's why Rav Meir wanted to. That's why Rav wanted to silence him. Zogt Gemara, you think anybody hears what the hackers say? When someone comes to a shir, he hears the shir. He doesn't hear what every hacker says. So why was Rav even worried about it? You think he's going to listen to any person who hacks in with a comment? No. The only person that the public listens to when they come to the Rav's drasha is the person who would say over the drasha. So the Rav would say the drasha in a lower tone, and then he had his human high blast microphone, who had a big powerful voice, who would then broadcast it to the people in the crowd. That was the primitive versions of a microphone. So therefore, that's what people listen to. If someone has a comment, no one's going to hear it anyway. So why would Rav have needed to silence that guy? Amar Rab Nachman bar Yitzchak, Tana Shoichet Tana Kamei de Rav. It wasn't the case of Mevashel that was said, because by Mevashel, Hitaka Paskins like Reb Meir. But the person who quoted was not quoting halacha by Mevashel, he was quoting the halacha by Shoichet. Tana Shoichet Tana Kamei de Rav. HaShoichet b'Shabbos b'Shoigig Yoichel b'Mezid lo Yoichel. So therefore, why did he quiet him? Because he said as follows: Amar lei my daitach. What's your svara? Reb Meir, you're saying like Reb Meir, and that's why if we're shechted b'shogig, you can eat it. Atkan like a shoyer Reb Meir, ella b'mavashel. Only Reb Meir who's matir to eat the proceeds of a malacha b'shogig on Shabbos, by mavashel he would have done it. You know why? Because it wouldn't be muksa. The meat is not muksa, because the meat was already geshachten before Shabbos. Now you cooked it on Shabbos, but the meat's not muksa. You know why? Because technically it's possible to eat the meat when it's raw. So therefore it wouldn't be muksa. However, but you're quoting him as shoichet, the ein royu lachutz. So therefore, even though there's no problem of Shabbos, lagabi the iser melacha of Shabbos, but you have a problem of muksa, and therefore you wouldn't be able to eat it on Shabbos.
So if you explain
that's why Rav silenced the psak, because he felt that it was a mistake in psak.
Can you explain that again? The distinction. What's a type of locus?
What's type of locus?
Yeah, chew.
Oh, locus means to eat it raw. Eat it shaloi kederech. If we look at Rashi says locus. Rashi says Atkan like a shayer of Meir Elabim Mavashalam on the fourth line from the bottom. B'shoigig the kivan the Isser Shabbos leka the shoigigu Isser Muksa Nami leka. Why? Because even before it was cooked, have a chazi locus chaya. It could have been eaten raw. Aval shoichet b'shoigig neida Isser Shabbos leka. Even though there's no Isser Shabbos, because Reb Meir holds that an Aveira b'shoigig wouldn't prevent you from eating it, but mishum muksa mia hasura. It's muksa. The bein hashmoshes loy have a chazi locus. Bein hashmoshes, the animal was still alive. Couldn't have eaten it raw. It was a live animal at the time. Then Rashi explains, Kol achila shaloi kedarka, anytime you eat something not in the normal way, like raw, kari kaises. Kamaya kaises is a chitin, a kaises is a oires, kaspalpuli b'yom kippur. All it means is eating something not the normal way. Chewing on raw meat is not the normal way to eat meat. So therefore, you have a problem of muksa, so how could you quote a Tana saying that you can eat on Shabbos what was shechted on Shabbos b'shoigig? You couldn't because it would be muksa. Even though there's nothing preventing you because no Isser was done, but there's still a problem of muksa. And that's why Rav silenced this person.
That's not look at people.
Frank the Gemara,
Animal you can't eat. But if it's just
V'masnisin the Shoichet, V'masnisin the Shoichetu, the problem is our own Mishnah is a case of Shoichet. V'amar Afuna, Dorash Chia Barav Mishmei Derav, Asura Bechila B'yoyim. What happened over there? How did we start the whole sugya? Rav said that even though in the Mishnah it says that the shchit is kosher, you won't be able to eat it on Shabbos. And the Olam concluded that the only person that this would fit in with would be Rabbi Yehuda, because only according to Rabbi Yehuda would you not be able to eat the meat that was shechted b'shayit. But the problem is, Rav Meir Shari. It's mashma that according to the Chavraya, Rav Meir would have allowed eating of the meat on Shabbos, even though it was shechted on Shabbos. So the problem is, we just said now, Rav just said now that even Rav Meir wouldn't allow you to eat the meat, not because of the Isra Shabbos, but because of the Isra Muksa. So Oy Bazoi, why did the Chavraya insist that Rabbi Yehuda is the Tana of our Mishnah who prohibits the eating of it on Shabbos? Rav Meir could have been the Tana of our Mishnah. It could have been a case of Mezit, and Rav Meir could have been the Tana of our Mishnah. I'm sorry, it could have been a case of Shoigig still, and Rav Meir was the Tana of our Mishnah, and you still couldn't eat it. You couldn't eat it because of the other problem of Muksa. Zok to Gemara, he Shari Rav Meir, you know when Rav Meir is matter to eat it and does not have a problem of Muksa? And let me just turn over the page. Oops, the page is not turning. 1 second. Not working. Trying to get this to work. Hold on a second. Backspace. Oh. What does it? So Zok to Gemara, you know when Rav Meir would be matter to eat it? Kigoyin Shahaya Loichoila Mibayjoim. If the person was already, there was a sick person who you have to shecht for him on Shabbos because it's Bekuch Nevesh, he was already sick on Erev Shabbos. So therefore, even a live animal is not muksa because the live animal was always destined to be shechted to accommodate, to feed the chayla. So where did Rav Meir say that it's mutter to eat on Shabbos? That would be in the case where it was a chaylim and bajoim. So our Mishnah would be speaking in a case where it was a chaylim and bajoim. Therefore, according to Rav Meir, you would actually be allowed to eat the meat that was shechted on Shabbos.
But even
Where, it can't be b'mezid because it's mutter to shecht. It's not on the veir. It's not only a mutter to shecht, it's a mitzvah to shecht.
It's not shoigig either.
That's right. So shechting on Shabbos, it would be mutter to eat it, but there wouldn't be a problem of muksa either. There wouldn't be a problem of muksa. So therefore, our Mishnah couldn't go like Rav Meir because according to Rav Meir, it would be mutter to eat that day. But in a normal case, it would be also to eat because so Zok to Gemara Ihachi. If you're telling me that we had a choila b'boy joim, then my timer to Rabbi Yehuda the Osar. You're supposed to shecht. It's not an aveira. So why is it that if there's a choila in the house and he's a choila sheish b'sakana and he needs the food, so b'meisid b'shoigig there's no aveira here. You're supposed to shecht it. Zok to Gemara, Erev Shabbos bein hashmoshes, the person was a chayla sheyesh by sakana. Therefore, Shabbos bein hashmoshes, the meat did not become muksa. The animal didn't become muksa. Then the chayla got better. So now you're not allowed to shecht. So the meat's not muksa, but you're still not allowed to shecht it because he's no longer a chayla sheyesh by sakana. V'chihad amar Abacha bar Ada amar Rav amar amar Rab Yitzchak bar Ada amar Rav. Hashoichet l'chayla b'Shabbos. What if you shecht meat because you shecht an animal because a chayla needs to eat? The halacha is aser lebari. A bari is not allowed to eat the meat. A bari is not allowed to eat the meat that was shechted for the chayla. Why? Because it would still be muksa. It would still be muksa, even though there's no isur Shabbos, but there's an isur muksa. The chayla sheyesh b'shakana doesn't have to worry about the isur muksa, but a bari, even though he doesn't have to worry about the shchita b'isur, but he has to worry about muksa. However, hamavashal l'chayla b'Shabbos. If you cook for a chayla on Shabbos, so there the meat was not muksa because it was already meat coming into Shabbos. Therefore, mutter l'bari. My timer, because hay roya locos. If it was meat already when Shabbos came, even though it wasn't cooked yet, it still could be eaten. Shalai kedarka could be eaten raw. The high ain't locus, but the behemoth that you shechted, if it was alive, it wasn't raw to be eaten. Amar Papa, Zokta Papa, Pa'amim shashoichet mutter. Sometimes, if you shecht on Shabbos, it would be mutter even for a bari to eat. What about it being muksa? If the person was already sick, Erev Shabbos, this animal is not muksa because it's destined to be shechted. There's also cases where mevashal is also, even though it's not muksa. It's speaking when you cut a dalas, and Rashi learns you cut the dalas on Shabbos. You harvested it on Shabbos. If you harvested it on Shabbos, there's an Isser Malach involved, and it would also be muksa because it wasn't cut down before Shabbos. If you look at Rashi, when you cut this dalas, but Rashi mina mechuber ubishaloi, and you cooked it for the chayla. The yeshkan isur muksa, there was an isur muksa the mechuberes haisa bein hashmoshes, and therefore that techatimtze, or even just cooking at the last would be usher because it was cut down on Shabbos. Amar Avdimi min Arda Hilchasa. What is Allah Lamaisa? Hashoichet l'chayla b'Shabbos mutter lebari b'umtza. He's allowed to eat it if he eats it raw. My timer, kiva de eat after lekazayis basar below shchita. Since it's impossible to have a basar kazayis without shchita, you have to shecht. You're shechting the whole animal. Therefore, kikashachid adaita the chayla kashachid. Of course, this is speaking where the chayla was a chayla before Shabbos, so there's no problem of muksa. But hamavacha the chayla b'Shabbos, then it's also lebari. Why? Gezeir shemayara b'shvilai. Cook, you only need to cook just a small piece of meat that the chayla needs. Hechadesh, you're allowed to put in more, and therefore, a bari wouldn't be able to eat meat from there because then we're chayshish that you'll be marba, you'll put more meat in the pot to cook than necessary for the chayla. Okay, gewaltig. Zok the Heilige Mishnah. Hashoichet b'magal yad. If you shecht with a magal yad is a blade that's made to cut produce, but one side is smooth, that would be a kosher chalaf. The other side is jagged. It wouldn't be a kosher chalaf. So hashoichet b'magal yad, bitzur, a rock, a sharpened rock, with a kanan, with a reed, shechitasa ikshever. Hakol sheichten, everybody can shecht. Ula oilam sheichten, and you can shecht forever. Ubakoil sheichten, and you can shecht with anything. The Gemara is going to explain what all of these items are referring to. Chutz mi magal ktsir, you're not allowed to shecht with a magal ktsir, v'hamagira, and the saw, v'ashinayim, and teeth, v'tziparin, and nails, mepnei shein chodkin, because they inevitably have pegimis, and the pegimis create, instead of it's slicing the siman softly, the siman gets caught in it, and it causes choking of the animal. Zok the Gemara, Hashoichet, the lashon of the Mishnah is a lashon of b'di'evet. Hashoichet the eved in lechatchila loy. Why is there a problem with lechatchila? Bishlama b'magal yad. I understand why lechatchila you shouldn't shecht with a magal yad. You know why? Dilma osin lemevad beidechisa. You should lechatchila not use a magal yad, because what if by mistake you use the wrong side of the blade, the jagged end, then it's going to be a nevela. So therefore, hashoichet don't use it. If you use it, it'll be kosher. Now, I just want to stop for a second here and make a point that Rashi does. Rashi says if you have a blade that one side is jagged and one side is smooth, lichatchila you can't use it to shech because you might use the wrong side. Zok Rashi kol shekain, if you have a long chalif and it has a pagam in one end, and you could technically do a full shchita without even that pagam getting near the animal's neck, kol shekain that should be usher. Kol shekain that should be usher to use. And the place can say that what if you're on a yom tiv and you need to shecht meat and you only have such a knife, and what you do is you make a simon, you tie a rag onto the chalif where the pagima is, so that you won't by mistake pull the simon through the pagam. Okay, zok to Gemara weiter.
B'di'evet would be kosher.
B'di'evet is kosher. That's right. But lechatchila you're allowed to shecht with it if you make a simon. Why is there any issue with shechting with a tzur or with a kana? Or many we learned b'koyel shechting bein b'tzur, bein b'schuchis, bein b'kroy mishal kana. So it's a lechatchila. Zok Gemara loy kasher. Kan b'tolosh, kan b'mechuber. A rock that's not connected to the ground anymore, a kana that's harvested, yeah, you can use it like a blade. But if it's connected to the ground, then you got to move the animal's neck back and forth. You can't move the kana or the rock back and forth. You move the baby's neck back and forth. That's where you're going to have a problem with lechatchila. The Amar of Kana, Hashoichet b'mechuber lakaka, Rebbe Paisel, Rebbe holds it's Paisel and Ganson. So our mission is sure not going according to Rebbe, because our mission just says it's also lechatchila. Reb Chia machshir, Reb Chia is machshir b'di'evet. At kan lo machshir Reb Chia el b'di'evet. Aval lechatchila loy. So zok to Gemara b'mayukim to our Mishnah that says hashoichet, referring to b'di'evet, it's Reb Chia u'di'evet. The problem is we have another brisa that's not consistent with this, because Elahad Tanya b'koyel shoichtin bein b'tolush bein b'mechuber bein shasakin lamayla v'tzaver behem lamata, which means you're pushing the knife down, so therefore you don't have to put pressure; it'll go down by itself. Bein shasakin lamata v'tzaver behem lamayla, and now you're pushing up, and you have to be choishish. Maybe there'll be too much pressure. The halacha is over there. It says it's lechatchila. So if it's lechatchila to cut even b'mechuber, we have a big problem, because mani, who's that brisa going like? Loy Rebbe can't be going to Rebbe. Rebbe holds his mamish posel. V'loy Reb Chia, because he holds at most it's kosher b'di'evet, but it's not mutar lechatchila. I Reb Chia di'evet in lechatchila loy, and I Rebbe di'evet ami loy. Zok to Gemara la'olam Reb Chia. Let's say it's going according to Reb Chia, and Reb Chia says that even lechatchila you can shecht with a mechuber. Zok Gemara la'olam Reb Chia ba'afilo lechatchila. B'hayde kamifli b'di'evet. So Oivazoi, why are they arguing in a case of b'di'evet? Teretz is lo di'acha koichi the Rebbe to tell you that it's also even b'di'evet. So really, Reb Chia is mater lechatchila. The reason why the machloikis was given over in b'di'evet form is because it wants to highlight the chumer of Rebbe that it's possible even b'di'evet. Zok to Gemara. So now let's see how that fits into our Mishnah. We wanted to say that our Mishnah is b'di'evet and it's going according to Reb Chia, but now we just said that Reb Chia holds us even mutar lechatchila. So fragt the Gemara b'elamasnizin the katoni hashoichet b'di'evet in lechatchila loy mani loy Rebbe holds it's possible even b'di'evet, but loy Reb Chia, because we just said Reb Chia holds it would be mutar lechatchila. Rabbi Chia afilu lechatchila. Rabbi diavad nami loy. Zok to Gemara la'olam Rabbi Chia. Let's say our Mishnah is going according to Rabbi Chia. Va'afilu lechatchila. And avada t'muta lechatchila. So why did our Mishnah use a lashon of b'diavad? We must listen to Katani hashaychet Rabbi. It's going according to Rabbi. Frank Gemara, what do you mean Rabbi? Kasha the Rabbi at the Rabbi. Rabbi says that it's possible. How could you say that our Mishnah that says it's b'diavad is going according to Rabbi? Where does Rabbi say it's possible b'diavad? That's if you shecht using a stationary item like a rock on the mountain. But if it was tolush, it was already removed from the mountain, and then you put it back, there it would only be also b'diavad. Zok to Gemara umina temra. Where do you get the idea to even make such a distinction? Right now it's mechuber. Why should you make a distinction if it was tolush meikarai? Dr. Gemara, the Tanya we learned hashaychet b'muchni. What if you tie a chalif to a wheel, like a wheel run by a windmill or a water mill? So you have a wheel that turns, then you put a blade onto it, and then you bring the animal towards the blade. It's mamish like a circular saw. Imagine you have a blade that's a circular saw, it's spinning, and then you push the animal's neck against it. The lach is chitasik sheira. But the mechuba lakarka also chitasik sheira. No atzakin b'koisel. What if you fastened a knife to the wall, the shachad ba, and you shechted with it, and again you have to move the neck back and forth? That's if it was tolish l'b'sayv chibray. But hayatzur yoitzim in a koisel. If naturally there was a rock sticking out of the wall, or there was a kana that was growing from the ground, the shachad ba, and you shechted with it, shechitase psula, that shchita would be possible. Craig the Gemara Kashin Hadadi. They seem to be contradictory. Why is one possible and one is one kosher? Let me just turn the daf over to the top to Zion. I'm not sure what happened over here.
Went up to the YouTube channel.
Could you still see this?
Yeah.
You can't.
Is it still being shared?
Maybe you're in the wrong tab.
I think I'm in the wrong. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I'm probably in the wrong tab. Oh, yeah. Here I am. Oh, thank you, Doc. I did a chap. I was in the wrong tab. So Zok to Gemara. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. Kashina Dodi and the Lav Shmamina shiny bein mechuber meikarai letolish ulubasayv chibroi shmamina. So Rav holds that tolish meikarai is tolish meikarai tolish ulubasayv chibroi, that will be mutter, and mechuber all time will be possible. Okay, let's stop here. Now tomorrow, Daniel Finkel actually is on the daf. So Mamela, I guess we could join Daniel for tomorrow, and Sunday we're back to the regular schedule.
You know what time he's giving?
Well, he gives usually about an hour and 20 minutes before Mincha, but that's because he also learns part of Friday's daf, because they don't learn Friday. So if you show up about an hour before Mincha, that would probably line up with when he'll be at the daf.
Okay.
And then Monday, I believe, is a holiday Monday. So Monday, we're going to be learning at 7 rather than at 6.
You're there already?
Actually, I'm in a rest area on the New Jersey Turnpike, just south of Newark.
Oh,
So I have about 45 minutes left.
You stopped in the middle?
I stopped several times. I was tired. I stopped 3 times to sleep for an extended amount of time. I was driving by myself, so I decided I'm not pushing it. If I'm tired, I'm going to stop.
Mark. At least you woke up this time.
Yes, this time I woke up. Okay, shkoyach.
Okay, enjoy.
Shabbos.
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 Shabbos, Shabbos.